Mr. Speaker, I rise today to urge passage of House Concurrent Resolution 33. This resolution would designate the George C. Marshall Museum and the George C. Marshall Research Library in Lexington, Virginia, as the National George C. Marshall Museum and Library. I'd like to thank Chairman Fox, Ranking Member Scott, and Mr. Bratt for their work in bringing this legislation to the floor today. It is only fitting that we consider this resolution on the week of the 70th anniversary of George C. Marshall's speech at Harvard University, where he proposed a comprehensive foreign assistance program, later coined as the Marshall Plan, to help rebuild the war-torn and devastated economies in Western Europe after World War II. General George Catlett Marshall dedicated his life to public service, serving honorably in the United States Army as Army Chief of Staff during World War II, Special Ambassador to China, Secretary of State, and Secretary of Defense. He was one of only five-star generals ever to serve in our military. From his Allied plan to storm the beaches of Normandy to the Marshall Plan, his leadership changed the world. The history of the United States and the global community would be a different place if not for the contributions of General Marshall. At the recommendation of former President Harry Truman, the Marshall Foundation was established in 1953. On May 23, 1964, the Marshall Museum and Library was dedicated on the post of the Virginia Military Institute, General Marshall's alma mater. For over 50 years, the Marshall Foundation has devoted its mission to educating the public about the important contributions of General Marshall. The museum has 5 extensive exhibits and houses General Marshall's 1953 Nobel Peace Prize. The research library collects, preserves, and shares the largest collection of documents pertaining to General Marshall's life. Just last year, the Marshall Foundation reached a huge milestone with the completion of the Papers of George Catlett Marshall. This project began in 1977 with the goal to create a published record of every document that General Marshall produced. The final project consists of 7 volumes and includes 4,260 documents spanning over 5,666 pages. In addition to its extensive research work, the Marshall Foundation provides educational opportunities for college students and future military leaders. The Marshall Undergraduate Scholars Program sends college history students to the Marshall Foundation to conduct primary research in the library's archives. The Marshall Army ROTC Award Seminar also provides the top ROTC cadet at each college in the United States the opportunity to participate in a national security conference with fellow award recipients and current Army leaders. The Marshall Arnold Air Force ROTC Award Seminar provides a similar opportunity to top senior cadets at each college with an Air Force ROTC program. 2 years ago, the Marshall Foundation began the Marshall Legacy Series. This multi-year series of exhibits, lectures, and events to showcase General Marshall's contributions during the 20th century and connects those contributions to today's world. This is just a snapshot of the important work the Marshall Foundation conducts to honor and preserve the legacy of General Marshall. I am honored to have such a distinguished institution in my district, the 6th Congressional District of Virginia. General Marshall once said, "Sincerity, integrity, and tolerance are, to my mind, the first requirements of many to a fine, strong character." I applaud the Marshall Foundation's work in sharing Marshall's vision and character with a new generation of Americans, and I urge the passage of this resolution to honor one of America's most sincere and distinguished public servants by congressionally designating the museum and library in Lexington, Virginia as the National George C. Marshall Museum and Library. I thank the gentleman from Virginia and yield back.
The gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Virginia, Mr. Bratt, reserves.